giving a news conference, answering questions, and giving us some new information about what he intends to do, or at the very least is not ruling out when he takes office, including not ruling out a military invasion to conquer Greenland.
Dana Bash and Kaitlan Collins on CNN totally flipping out over Trump's speech, taking everything he said way too literally. Let's check this out, and I'll share my thoughts along the way.
The Panama Canal, and perhaps the annexation of the country of Canada. There is a lot more to discuss. We have a terrific panel here. Kaitlan Collins, you are our chief White House correspondent, in addition to all of your other titles. What's that?
13 more days to go.
Yeah, okay. But you obviously have been covering Donald Trump for a very long time. Before I get to you, I do want to play David Sanger, our friend at the New York Times, his question about the Panama Canal and on Greenland, and Donald Trump's response before you respond.
No, I can't assure you on either of those two, but I can say this. We need them for economic security. The Panama Canal was built for our military. I'm not going to commit to that now. It might be that you'll have to do something. Look, the Panama Canal is vital to our country. It's being operated by China. And we gave the Panama Canal to Panama. We didn't give it to China. And they've abused it. They've abused that gift. It should have never been made, by the way. Giving the Panama Canal is why Jimmy Carter lost the election, in my opinion, more so maybe than the hostages. The hostages were a big deal.
Okay, so the question is, Kaitlan, how much of this is Donald Trump trying to negotiate and posturing and warning them? And how much do you really think he means it, particularly given the fact that a big part of his consistent campaign message for 8 years has been, I'm going to get us out of wars?
Well, I mean, it was an extraordinary moment, one of the most extraordinary moments of that press conference, where he was refusing to rule out using military force to retake the Panama Canal, something that he himself brought up, I should note, in this press conference when a reporter later asked, why are you bringing this up? Obviously, it's a signature achievement of Jimmy Carter's. He's about to be lying in state here in Washington. Trump said he was asked about it, but Trump brought it up in his opening remarks. It's something that he's been quite fixated on behind the scenes, from what I've heard from sources in the past few weeks on this issue, complaining about Chinese influence. Obviously, this was a signature achievement of Jimmy Carter's. He believed it improved relations with Latin America for the United States. And still, it's one of his biggest accomplishments that people talk about. But Trump there saying that he would not rule out using military force to retake it is not something that should be treated as with bluster. I mean, Trump is coming into this White House and is intentionally staffing his administration with aides who will not block what he wants to do or what he ultimately seeks. There were many instances in his first term where he wanted to do something, but advisors either convinced him not to, or Republican lawmakers did. That is not going to be the same Washington that we are encountering in 13 days from now when Trump takes office. So I would treat everything he said there quite seriously. I mean, moments after he said he wanted to rename the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America.
If you're into content like this, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel.
Marjorie Taylor Greene is saying that she's going to advocate for that. But I do want to say, one of the biggest things that stood out to me from that press conference, from moments when Trump got out there before he even started taking questions, is the level of anger.
He's really agitated.
Well, we know why. He made it quite clear a few moments in. It's two things. It's his legal issues overall, but it's the sentencing that he is facing on Friday that so far is still, Judge Merchan has denied efforts to delay it. His attorneys are still working to do so. And two, it's this report by Jack Smith that we are told is imminent and is going to come out. Trump was informed during that Judge Cannon down in Florida has tried to temporarily block that. Well, it's not a settled matter. We'll see if it's successful. But his level of anger over that is unmistakable. He has not been this angry since he won the election.
But the idea that he couldn't rule out using either economic leverage or military force to take Greenland and the Panama Canal, he says he's going to rename the Gulf of Mexico the Gulf of America. Canada, our closest friend in the world, our neighbor to the north, a giant economic partner, is in the middle of a political crisis right now, and he just poured kerosene on the fire.
Well, that's why he did it.
Military action there.
Yeah, he did rule out.
Well, he did.
He did actually.
But he said he would use economic leverage.
Right.
He did. Yeah. He said, I will use economic force because Canada. Actually, let's listen to what he said.
Your neighbor's house is on fire, and you don't call the fire department. You pour kerosene on it.
Let's listen. Now, if anybody has moved since Trump was elected to Canada, they're going to be looking down from the north to the south saying, okay, is this going to happen? But no, but in all seriousness, John, you said that he's pouring gasoline on a fire, excuse me, while Canada is having trouble. But the reality is that part of why Canada is having trouble and why Trudeau resigned yesterday is because of these threats. It's also because there's anti-incumbent fever globally and has been all year. The fact that they are in such turmoil, Trump believes that he has maximum leverage right now.
Precisely. Kaitlan Collins praising Jimmy Carter for his decision to hand over the Panama Canal is really hard to take seriously. This was a decision that has sparked criticism for decades, and rightfully so. The Panama Canal was not just a major international shipping route, but also a significant geopolitical asset for the United States. Giving it up wasn't a minor decision. It was one with massive implications for national security, global influence, and economic power. For Collins to praise this move as if it was some kind of brilliant diplomatic victory completely overlooks the reality of the situation. Let's remember, at the time, the Panama Canal was a major strategic asset, and surrendering control to Panama was not a universally popular decision. In fact, many people saw it as a huge mistake. The long-term effects of Carter's actions were debated for years, and many argued that it weakened America's standing on the world stage. Instead of acknowledging the complexities and potential downsides of Carter's decision, Collins seems to gloss over them. It's frustrating because the decision to hand over the canal wasn't just about diplomacy or good intentions. It was about the risks and the consequences of shifting such an important asset out of U.S. control. So for someone like Collins, to praise it without considering the full scope of its impact is misleading at best. Let's take a deeper look into why this decision was so controversial and why praising it now, decades later, doesn't make much sense when we examine the bigger picture.